I watched or read episode 1, chapter 1. My face has a line on it from the dog. Wait, really? Does it? How about now? That'll theoretically get rid of any of that. How about now? Did that get rid of it? I just get rid of all the edges and it'll be fine. I swatted it. All right, cool. All right, so we got Chainsaw. We got Pochita from Chainsaw. It's Spoiler Gundam hanging out. That means when you see this combo, we are looking at Chainsaw Man spoilers. Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Basically, I have not read a manga from an anime since Initial D, and I was in high school. Tomatoes. They're called Italians. Oh, whoa, it's a me. What am I gonna do? I insulted the Italians. Keep the chainsaw away from Gundo crotch. All right, we can do that. I have not read a manga about an ongoing anime in a very long time. And as you all know, anyone who's here watching this, who is not a part of the OG squad, if you weren't in the anti-hentai bot brigade, if you weren't in the post Brandon era, we are talking to you now because of this little guy right here, this little Pochita, this little chainsaw man, because the algorithm was like, oh, chainsaw stuff, what if everyone saw this? And it just explodes. And I was like, okay, last season we had some bangers and they did pretty well, but this is the first time that I've talked about something where the world was like, we want to hear about this something. And I thought, why would I talk about something just reading articles about it, just looking at announcements, just looking at articles, just looking at announcements, trailers, Twitter. Like, if I keep looking at like Twitter to see what they think about these new Chainsaw Man things or how excited they are about Chainsaw Man things, that's going to get pretty damn boring. So what I have decided is that unlike my past, where I don't watch or read the manga, because I like anime, I like animation, I like the movement of the picture. I think there's something so cool and so unique about the squash and stretch, all this stuff that you do when you're animating something in order to make it work on a visual medium. I love comic books. I love manga. I again, when I was reading manga, it was because I ran out of Initial D and they hadn't made any more, so I started reading the manga so I could keep it going. And I really enjoyed seeing how they tried to draw cars that were moving, but it wasn't moving. So I definitely prefer animation. However, I think it would be irresponsible of me to try to get people hyped up about something or try to figure out why people are hyped up about something without reading in it and getting into it myself. So I have decided that I'm going to read Chainsaw Man. And my goal is to finish all of what they plan to adapt before it adapts, which I need to look up to make sure that I'm reading the right chapters and I stop at the right point. Because I think Michael was telling me, like, I need to know the pacing in the manga is really good. So as long as the pacing in the anime is good as well, that it's going to be enjoyable. But I want to figure out what it is so that I can read it and I can sort of plan it out so that I can say, hey, we've read all these chapters by this date and we'll figure out what it's like. Who is Chainsaw Man's enemy? Hacksaw Man or Axeman? You know it's Dull Man and Rust Man. Those are Chainsaw Man's enemy, at least in my life. And so, in preparation for the episode, you probably could have read it in a few days. It's pretty quick. You said they'll ruin the show if they change it. Yes, I mean that's kind of what I just said. Like if they pace it well in the anime, and they stick to the story, that everything will be okay. Never read a manga before. Flipped through one of my cousin Naruto's volume backwards. Does it meet the hype? Also, Spike Tree would be his enemy as well. Hardwood, damn it! No fuel and no oil, man. Yeah, exactly. Well, those lead to Rust Man and Dull Man coming out. I had to laugh because I pulled up. I'm reading these on Viz because Viz lets you read the first few chapters for free without even making an account. So I'll have to make an account eventually. But I sat there and it was like, use arrow key. It just says use arrow keys and has both arrow keys. And says use arrow keys to turn pages. And I just kept hitting the right arrow key and it wasn't doing anything. I was like, one page? What the? And I was like, oh, I'm freaking stupid. I have to flip it backwards. Because it's, it's a manga. This first chapter is 57 pages. That's pretty hefty. Like we're talking about Berserk chapter 1 size. Like that is a hefty initial opening to get everything set up and established. There's some good here. There's some good in this first chapter. They assume that you can figure out that when they say, oh, it's a devil, that it's just kind of some kind of monster mutant thing, and maybe we'll get to that later. We don't need to explain that in episode 1 or chapter 1. We can just sort of say, yep, it's a big demon, and we know what demons are. They're the monsters. It's the devils. We killed it. All right, cool. We move on. Doesn't waste time trying to explain what it is. Does a really quick single page to explain what our character's predicament is. Really does very well at that. Like the studio hard-shipping Kenshin and Kaoru instead of focusing on the stories. Oh my goodness. Clothman, yeah, Clothman would probably get stuck as well. Ugh. Unless it's an electric chainsaw, then it'd be like cutting your own cord, man. So as we read this first page, the first page and second page technically are inked. And the thing that steps out to me is a real lack of detail in the people, which I feel like might be a creative choice that works well as we move forward. But it really kind of stood out to me that our main boy's hair looks like the artist just kind of and just kind of got it on paper. So when we were reading that article about how Tatsuki Fujimoto, is that his name? Yeah, Tatsuki Fujimoto. How his greatest gift is storytelling. Might have been a backhanded insult of his ability to draw, because his drawings look very like as much as they need to be, which is a fine. You know, his drawings aren't bad, but like Pochita in some of these first scenes is literally just this sort of like circle with like some legs, and it looks like something you'd see on like a Tumblr blog or something like that. The panels are literally just like a face and just all word bubbles with no real background or anything. So it's very story heavy. It's like, here's the character who's talking. Here's like, maybe you see like the car around the head, like the car door or something. And that's the little bit of like setting you get. When you do see like full scenes with like, here's a street, here's a lamppost, here's like all this extra little bit, some of the some of the lines all feel very, very straight, very like this is the way the line goes, and like they were drawing it on a computer with a line tool instead of drawing it on a computer with a pen. So there's some interesting choices going on through the artistic side of things, and then just randomly you get this like incredibly detailed just one like rectangle in the middle of an entire page. It's like, here's a rectangle with nothing and our character. Here's a rectangle with nothing and like a head and a dialogue box. And then here is a super, super detailed, lots of line work, very expressive single piece. To the point where it doesn't feel like it's the same artist doing the same thing. Like it's very, very strange. Very, very strange. The only thing you need to know is that the chainsaw gets sharper, harder, more powerful based off of willpower or emotion. Don't know yet. We'll find out. We'll find out. The whole opening does a really good job at setting up like who our character is, why they exist, what their grouping is. It lets us know about this little guy here. Like it's really, really good first chapter from a storytelling point of view. But it was very, very jarring from a drawing and like stylistic point of view. You go from these very, very dark black, lots of detail, lots of gray work panels to a panel that's empty except for somebody's head. Once he stops being starving homeless guy, it changes. Okay, well, I mean, I don't know which way it would change. But we get our first sort of like devil that's too much for him, and we get our chainsaw man becomes a thing, as you would assume based on it being called Chainsaw Man. But there was something here that really made me, where was it? I can't tell if it's the if it's the translation or if it's the author, if they're actually writing that. But like some of the story and some of the dialogue is very, very base, very like I will do this and you will do that. I did this, will you do this for me? Like it's a very, very flat the way it's written. So I don't know if it's specifically that way in the in Japanese. Maybe it's a little bit different, but I don't know. It felt very in the same way that I was making fun of Fire Punch as being like a really simplistic title. It feels like a lot of the dialogue is equally simplistic. Oh yeah, right here. So big spoilers on this one for the first chapter. This devil literally says this phrase: "Too bad my power turns people into zombies, 'cause I'm a zombie devil." Do I blame the translators when they could have said, "Too bad I'm a zombie devil who turns people into my puppets," or something a little bit more enjoyable than that? But yeah, there's a lot of the dialogue was just very devil hunters kill us devils. I hate them, so I kill them. It's like, okay, you could have just said like, there's nothing I hate more than devil hunters. I'm gonna kill you, or I kill everyone I come across. Give me a little bit more. So like, I could blame the translator here, but I don't know if it's just as bad in Japanese. I'd have to talk to someone who speaks and reads Japanese to know if the Devilman translation or the Devilman original is similarly, because Japanese is a very easy language to just say, for that example, like the The too bad my power turns people into zombies, because I'm a zombie devil, could be literally like warui power like turn like zombie, whatever zombie turn into would be. Like you can say literally these like bad power makes zombies, and then the next one in Japanese could be ore o boku wa zombie devil, like, you know, something like that. So like it could literally be a literal translation of what was written in Japanese, or it could be using more eloquence similar to like a haiku that's not translating well. So I'll see if I can find somebody who knows Japanese who can like tell me if the Chainsaw Man dialogue is good and it's just not being translated well, or if it's just kind of okay. Got a real vermeil in gold sort of thing going on here, which always excites me. I like the way that our powers work. I like the suddenly basic. What page is this? Page 39, 38 and 39 is when our artist was like, oh yeah, I'll spend a lot of time on these. And so we have some really, really, really detailed pages that come in through and moving on past page 40. But even these detailed pages, there's a lot of little just scratch marks. Like here's a squiggly, and then here's, you know, some cross hatching. It's like that squiggly crosses over the cross hatching, which is sort of, it's just weird. It doesn't look as immediate as like you're like, okay, I'll just kind of glance at it. Oh, that looked pretty good. But then when I look at it, it's like, oh, this looks like a first draft. Like he needed to erase those and kind of clean some of that up. So it's very. I'll be interested to see if this style continues, where it looks like he left a lot of sketches on the board that should have been cleaned up or made a little bit cleaner. But it does increase the lines per page, kind of moving through the book. So I'll be interested to see if it maintains or if it continues as far as this style goes. I'm gonna have to get I'll get Joe Ball to look at a couple of these just to let me know what he thinks. If he can identify what it feels like, because it's something very specific to this that has it very sketchy compared to a lot of the death stuff, where it's like hard to find a line that wasn't supposed to be there. And then it sort of it ends again with more sort of blank pages. So I'm guessing it's stylistic, but it still feels, it's very jarring as you read it. So we'll see. Overall, I agree with Mappa. Amazing story. Really amazing story. This is exactly what we want in our anime about people who hunt demons and devils. This is exactly what we want in our superheroes who are, Devilman crybabies of the world, who bridge gaps, who are stuck in a bad situation. Like this is another thing we want. Having chapter 1 end the way it does, though, with oh, I'm here and now I'll take care of you, is a bit of a like, you couldn't let us suffer for a couple chapters. Like, come on, you can do better than this. We can have some sorrow here. It's not a problem. Look at Berserk. The whole thing is sad. So we'll see. We'll see. Sounds like a common way for low intelligent creatures to speak. Potentially, but the problem is that the creature that speaks isn't low intelligence, because it's capable of having other humans mimic reality, or like talk like very like it's a very eloquent line right before that, before you get to the devil. So it's interesting. We'll see. Should you make another pot of coffee, or just half pot, or just go coffeeless? Depends. Are you like me, where caffeine doesn't keep you up at night? Then make a half pot, because it's probably pretty late, depending on where you're at. But if you're not a person who can handle late night caffeine, then no. Drink some water, maybe some tea, maybe I don't know, anything that keeps the coffee out of you. I do just want to say again, it's really, really good narratively. I really like the way that it goes. I have some minor nitpicks. The art style, I want to see it transform. I want to see it get better. This is for chapter 1. This is chapter 1. There's 380, 360, like 380 chapters of Berserk, and like Mura got really good around chapter 100. So I don't know how many chapters of stuff that Fujimoto has done prior to Chainsaw Man, but I'm hoping to see a change kind of as we move forward. So I like it. Small nitpicks, but I can definitely see where they're like, oh yeah, this will make a good anime, because like I can see the anime as I'm reading the chapter. Last time you mentioned pacing. We don't get to see him suffer more because the pacing is wild. The author didn't want to create gaps to fill in, so he just cuts it short. I get cutting it short, but to end for me, I'll have to see what chapter 2 has, right? Of course. I've only read chapter 1, but for me, you start a character in the dumps, and then at the end, you give them the hope of having a power to get them out of the dumps, but you don't immediately have the savior descend, right? Like it's like that Overwatch commercial where like Mercy comes down and like reaches out to the kid. It's like we don't need that moment in chapter 1. We can have our character be a little bit in the dumps and get a new power, but then also be like, well, now the fuck what? And he just kind of has to like wander, and it just ends with him like maybe wandering out or something like that, or gets the power, uses the power, and then it ends. We can wait until chapter 2 to get that sort of payoff. So it's interesting. Hot bean juice. There's a little coffee stand in the Seattle area called Bean Water. Always makes me laugh. Little coffee stand. The sorrows of only reading chapter 1. You got to remember, these released one chapter at a time. So I'm going to read them one chapter at a time in the same way that they would have released. So sorrows they may be, they were built that way by the author. So if the author wants to stop chapter 1 at that point, that's up to them. So if he had just pushed those last, like maybe just don't do that last page, I'd probably be more invested in it as a show. Again, we're going to be doing all of these, so I've got a bunch more. We'll catch up. But for now, that is going to be it for me from the Escape Corner this wonderful Monday. And a Monday, we can get rid of our little buddies